Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by an S.
And I'm Leslie. I write as Elle Penelope. And welcome to the show.
Hey Leslie, what's up?
Hey Inez, what's going on? Finished another book?
Yeah, that's what's up. It's winter as we are recording this. It's not technically winter. Winter is like official winter is a week away, but outside it's winter. It's cold. It's dreary.
Yeah. It's gloomy. It's foggy half the time.
So all I want to do is read.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been cozy.
Why are you watching television? I'm just reading.
That's what I usually do, but I know that's unusual for you.
Yeah.
And we have been reading Last Guard, which is the 5th book inside Changeling Trinity, the 20th book inside Changeling overall. Whew.
Yes. It still fascinates and also baffles me that there could potentially be people coming into the series 5 books in, with this being their number 5.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know that we had a comment from Library Addict who was saying that she knew of people who had started with book 1, which was not the one before Ocean Light, whatever that was called. We did it. We look at the feed, and started there and been fine. So I'm sure it's possible. But it's still like having read them all and seeing all the connections that you would be missing. I too am mystified.
That makes me curious because we talked a bit about this, and I told you that I felt like Last Guard felt like an earlier story. It felt like Clay and Tally's story to me.
Yeah, there were a lot of similarities. I saw some similarities between Clay and Tally and between Caleb and Sahara, just in the fact that they met in childhood. They were bonded through the childhood trauma. That is really a powerful way for these people, these characters to come together. So there were similarities. There was protection. Yeah, more so Clay and Tally because of the protective aspect, a little bit in reverse because she protects him as a kid.
But it's making me wonder, because I do this. I will fess up and tell you that sometimes I do recycle my plots, especially when I go from sweet to spicy. And you can't recycle the whole story, but
Right.
like certain characteristics and certain arcs you can recycle.
And certain conflicts.
Certain conflicts you can recycle. They're going to come off differently. You're going to use different words. They're going to be different circumstances. But with Last Guard, it really felt like, even structurally, it felt to me like Clay and Tally.
Okay.
So I remembered, and I remembered not enjoying Clay and Tally's story a whole bunch because first, structurally, there was chapters worth of them standing outside and talking. There's chapters worth of these two characters, Kanto and Payal, sitting in his office and talking.
Or on his couch or on the deck of his house, I think.
Backstory. They were talking backstory. Both of those books, they were talking backstory. This is childhood friends to adult lovers.
Yeah.
And it was also, so Clay was a hard hero for me because he was so angry.
Yeah.
He was angry and he was gruff and he was a little too rough for me. So it's Kanto.
Oh, see, I thought Kanto was very different. He was not as angry, not as gruff, but Payal, she was the hard one for me. She was, robotic. She had to protect herself. She took that role for me as being a little bit more difficult to get into.
It's so interesting. Yeah. So, but that's how I felt. And however, even though this wasn't my favorite, for the same reasons that what was Clay's
Mind
book?
to Possess.
Mind to Possess. For the same reason that Clay and Tally's story, Mind to Possess, wasn't my favorite, was that structure. But what kept me going through this book was Nalini Singh is queen at diversity. She
Mhm.
has characters that are, I wasn't 100% sure of Kanto's heritage, but Payal's heritage was Indian, and I was like, "Oh my."
Kanto is Filipino, primarily Filipino. They
Ah,
did mention that at some point. So yeah, you've got the ethnic and racial diversity. You've got Kanto uses a wheelchair. He I think he was born with something. We're not
yes, he
sure.
was
And
flawed.
yeah, according to side rules, he was quote unquote flawed, but there were, he had been abused as a kid in the school. I wasn't sure if he was born with some sort of condition or it was later on. Regardless, as an adult, he uses a wheelchair. And Pyle is, I wasn't clear. She's neurodivergent in some way. She's potentially bipolar, maybe
I thought she was
ADHD.
bipolar because
Yeah.
she had a couple of manic episodes.
Yeah, yeah. She just Nalini Singh describes it as there's this insane girl inside of her that lashes out that she has to keep very tightly controlled. There's also medication involved. So there's something either neurodivergent, mental illness, maybe both, that's happening that makes her feel also flawed, and her family views her as flawed as well. So you've
Which
different. Mhm.
no, I appreciated that.
Right.
I was here for that. I wanted to love this story because of this representation. And I mean, yay, they fell in love. But I feel like they fell in love because they had a childhood connection. Like, how I didn't see the connection in adulthood. It really hinged to me
Yeah.
on we forged this bond as children, and now we're adults, and that connection is still there, and that was it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's another story where he'd been looking for her for 30 years, like Caleb did. There's like pieces you're seeing, sort of a lot of pieces we've seen before. She feels like she can't feel. I mean, she's not exactly silent because they're both anchors, but also she has to manage her emotions so tightly so that she doesn't lose control. So feeling is out at one point she rejects him. She's like, we can't do this anymore because I need to keep myself together and you are causing me to lose control, which we've seen a lot in the side characters. So for me, it was more so that there are a lot of things that we've seen before.
Mhm.
And, romance novels are all about giving us that same feeling, but in a different way.
Yeah.
So, that in and of itself isn't a problem, but I was just feeling like, okay, maybe the combination wasn't as unique as some of the other stories. And yeah, like I do like the childhood connection kind of trope. I do generally like, I've been looking for you for decades. I've been searching for
Mhm.
you. Now I've met you again. And they weren't obviously in love when she was 6 and he was 8, but there was something there. And it sparks to life almost immediately again. Kind of an uncontrollable attraction that he's totally down for and she's not. It was just, yeah, it was a lot of things that, 20 books in, I don't know how you write a series for 20 books and keep it different. I mean, and keep people interested. I wasn't bored, but it's not my top 5, definitely.
Yeah. It was interesting that the bears sensed their connection immediately.
Yeah. And we do get bears. We do get Arwen, who is Silver's brother and Kanto's cousin, and he's in a relationship with Pasha, and we get to see a little bit
I
of
wanted
them.
that story. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, every time they came onto the page, I lit up.
Yeah, they were great together. We see Silver, we get a little bit of Valentin, we get some
Mm.
Caleb, we're touching base with some people. I also I don't love the psychopathic brother characters, any kind of psychopath character, like,
Mhm.
I it's just I'm not that. I mean, I guess you need villains, you need antagonists, but also the torturing psychopath is just a lot. We
Yeah,
didn't get too much of him, but,
he was
what we
there. And so Kanto lives, on the edge of bear territory, and I thought that was interesting because Payal is, she can teleport,
mm.
and so he gives her the visual of his home, and she freaks out. She's like, "Why are you doing this? You can't trust me yet. I could come in and I could murder you in your sleep." And he's like, "Yeah,
Right.
right. Sure, whatever."
I trust you. You don't have to trust me.
But he doesn't give her, access to the ground where she could see that this is bear territory. He only gives her access to him. So I enjoyed that because
Yeah, he was respectful of the bear's boundaries. Like, he does trust her, but he knows the bears don't trust her, and it wasn't a lack of trust of her. I think it was more just like, you gotta clear it with the bears first.
yeah. And the bears I love that the bears were so nosy, and the little ones, they know that he's safe, and the little one gets, lost, and they come to him because they know they smell him, they know that he is safe.
Yeah, I liked that too. I liked his relationship with the bears. We get that sort of save the cat, save the baby bear moment
With the
early with
baby
him.
bear.
And then Paya has this younger sister,
Yeah.
Krishna, I think, who she's protecting. We don't know much about that situation, just that she's at risk from,
The
Paya's
psychopath brother.
and father also. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's got a terrible family. Another, bad dad, bad brother, bad family. She's just trying to keep things together and keep herself together. I think the core of the story and really why it's a must read is because of it pushing forward the larger story of Sinet's crumbling.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with that, since the middle of the last series. It's in dire straits, and these both of these characters are anchors. I don't remember when we first learned about anchors, maybe Sophia's book and Sophia
Yeah.
Max's book,
Yep.
but anchors, it's not a designation, it's sort of just like a genetic thing, then their job is to hold the net together, and they are being stretched to their breaking point. So this whole external plot is Kanto is trying to create this union of anchors to get a seat at the table with the council, and because they've been forgotten by history, purposefully so, but to the detriment of the sign at large.
This conceit of this whole series is what I find so fascinating. We started this series with Sasha leaving the net
Yeah.
because she thought she was flawed and breaking down. And we learned that the whole idea of silence was meant to save these people.
Right.
But it went to an extreme. Silence was an extreme. And because it went to the extreme, a lot of things got overlooked, and the things that got overlooked, they're coming back to bite this race
Hmm.
in the butt, in the head, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really hurting them, and I feel like Trinity is really a consequence of silence.
Mm. I was just thinking that, the themes of this book, we've got a character who uses a wheelchair. Both characters are considered broken and flawed.
Mhm.
We learned that the reason why there's so few anchors is that many of them are what Psy consider flawed, and
Mhm.
they're like the people in 300. Remember the movie 300, the Spartans?
Yeah.
Their flawed children do not survive. They do not allow them to survive. And this might kill all of them. So these two quote unquote flawed people are very responsible for the perpetuation of this race. And so she's tying these things in really nicely.
Mhm.
It reminded me of the kintsugi, which is this Japanese art of taking broken pottery and putting it back together with gold and making
Mm.
something beautiful out of what was broken. And so like that as a theme is really powerful as it comes through. And it just reinforces all of the found family and all of the themes that she's been dealing with since the first book. This whole series is very consistent with that. And I
Yes.
think that's why we love it, because it's giving us love stories, but it's also giving us more. And it's feeding us on many different levels, which I think is cool.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with that. There are layers, which is why it's hard to even though this book wasn't my favorite, I knew I had to get through it because of this world that I have been invited into, and I want to understand. I want the net to hold. So the
Mhm.
net is like a character, right?
Yeah.
We learned that the net mind was it went quiet. People thought that it was dead.
Yeah.
I didn't
But
realize that.
we've heard that it's that, Caleb can't talk to it anymore the past few books, and they thought it had sort of just dissolved, but apparently
Mhm.
a piece of it is inside of Sophia now and can talk to her still, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And is
Yeah.
still moving things behind the scenes, like
Well, it's like, Nalini Singh has a plan, and
right.
I want to see how she is going to bring this full circle. That's why I am here. I am here for it. It's like, okay, like when we have television shows and we're watching, it's like a boom explosion. Oh my gosh, can you believe what happened in this cliffhanger, this twist? And then there's always an episode where you're like, okay, I'll just wait for next week. That's what this felt like. I'll just wait for next week. But I needed all of this information in order to go
Yes.
forward. I also like that there was a dual timeline here. I don't always like that. There's a dual timeline with, the adult Kanto and Payal and
Mhm,
children Kanto and
mhm.
Payal. I thought that was interesting.
And we are also moving forward the subplot with the scarabs. So we get POVs from the architect of the scarabs, who we've had for the past couple of books, and she's getting worse.
And if you listen to the audiobook, she has an accent. I'm not great with accents, so I don't know, like, I don't know how to place that accent, but
Mm.
she has an accent.
I don't know if I noticed that. Her voice is disturbingly the voice that the, narrator uses is a little similar to Nikita's for me, because I keep thinking, "This isn't Nikita. I know it's not Nikita,"
It's
but,
not.
like, there's energy there that is Nikita-esque, and maybe it's the voice, maybe it's just how it's written, but, I'm constantly reminding myself, "Okay, this can't possibly be Nikita."
Mm-mm, mm-mm, 'cause she was very surprised at the scarabs.
Yeah.
But I also don't understand, like, I don't think that I understand the scarabs because I don't understand if the scarabs are people or if they are the disease.
There are people infected with the disease, I believe. My understanding is, although we did see in a previous book, the scarabs, there are bugs in
Yes,
the net,
yes.
but there are also people who are scarabs. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but
That confused me.
the architect is controlling people, and that she can control them to a certain extent. Sometimes they break out of her control and then she kills them. And so she has decided to, she's actually destroying the net. So at the beginning of this book, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna keep quiet for a little bit," but some of them go rogue.
Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what does she think it's gonna accomplish? Sai are gonna die.
Yeah, yeah, but she wants to rule over the Signet, and so her whole thing is a lot, and it's delusional. And by the end, I'm not entirely sure what happened at the end. She sort of leveled up, maybe, and she decided that what she's going to do is take her scarabs, and then apparently three of her scarabs are anchors, and make her own net, like pull out of the Signet and create her own little net, which
Go
is
for it.
we'll see
Bye.
what happens in the next book. Yeah.
Bye, Felicia Anchor. I did appreciate because again, the Payal and Canto met at this school for flawed Sai,
Yeah.
which really they were sent there to die and be forgotten about. But we get we get in the beginning that Kanto's mom, was it Magdalene or Meredith?
Magdalene.
Magdalene. She signed this, and she's a merchant. She signed this conception agreement. She carried Kanto. She was supposed to have two children. Kanto was the first. She carried him, and then the agreement said that the first child goes to the father.
Right.
So she gave him up, and we learned that she thought that was she regretted it. She absolutely regretted it.
Yeah, and she didn't have any more kids, even though she could have with the contract. I think she was really affected, and supposedly silent, but definitely affected by
Mhm.
giving up her child.
And she found Kanto because, Ina Merchant, they found Kanto in the school and they took him.
Right after he'd almost been killed, and after young Payal killed the
Mhm.
teacher who was torturing him, and
Yeah.
yeah, everything. The school basically. I guess they said that the merchants didn't kill everybody. I don't know who all the. We never got an answer on that, but anyway.
But mom takes him, and it takes Kanto a while to open up, to trust her, to trust anybody.
Right,
But he did, because he's an anchor, and because, he was there when
Arwen.
Arwen, thank you. When Arwen was born, Kanto enveloped him, Arwen, who was an empath, in his shields, and that really started to help him.
Yeah, apparently the act of having an empath grow up inside of his shields, he wasn't going to be silent anyway because he was an anchor, but it also meant he really understands emotion better than many Sai. Even though he does have this anger, this chip on his shoulder, he was
Mhm,
very traumatized by his childhood. Um, he still has he understands he's not your normal everyday silent cold Sai,
mm-mm.
which is
He
helpful,
was
I think.
angry. He was angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I don't know, I guess I don't like I don't like angry heroes,
I
but
thought he was angry, like, in the way that Kayla was kind of angry. Like, for me, it was a protective anger. It was always, um, balanced by this care that he shows, like for the bear and the cubs and
Mhm,
Arwen and Pasha and just everybody. He's
mhm.
just so full of love that the anger almost fizzles out for me.
I hear you. I didn't that didn't settle in my heart, but I
Okay.
totally see. I remember those scenes. You're right, he
Yeah,
was different in those scenes, but I guess that anger was just loud in my head.
sure.
Um, so I I'm trying to understand a note that I wrote. They have a rational throw mama from the train conversation about their fathers. Was this when they were kids? This is Kanto and Peal. Where am I misremembering this? Because sometimes I read at night and I'm typing on my phone. But I have this note. They have a rational throw mama from the train conversation about their fathers. I think that Kanto and Peal were talk as children were talking about, do you want me to kill your dad?
That was as an adult.
That was as an adult? Oh,
Pretty sure it had to be as an adult because he wouldn't have had the power to kill anybody as a kid. But yeah, he several times he's like, "I'll kill your brother, I'll kill your dad." Like, just say the word, they're gone. You know. And she was like, "Yeah, I will kill your dad." So of course, his dad has already been done in by his mother, but like she was down to they protect each other. They love, their emotions were high and they're both very powerful. They're both cardinals. And so they both have the ability to protect each other the way that they know how to do that.
and I have this other note that neither of them were born perfect, and now they both have trouble letting go control. That was very interesting
Mhm. Yeah.
because they had these flaws. They were
Mhm.
flawed in terms of their race. They
Yeah.
were flawed in their bodies. They were flawed in their silence. They both have a tight control over themselves, and it took each other even as they were letting go of control in order to embrace each other, you could see that it was slow, it was calculated, it was like they kept checking in with each other, and I did
Mhm.
enjoy that.
Yeah, like Kanto wheels his chair. He could use hover mode. He could use, an automatic chair, but he's like, no, I'm using my arms to wheel this chair. That's like control. And
Mhm,
and Pyle's the same way with her psyche and her mental health, I think. So it is interesting that and she also has some OCD. She has to rearrange things because they bother her. So, and he just lets her do that. He's always
mhm,
feeding her. Um,
mhm.
yeah, there's lots of cool things like in
Yes, I agree.
and maybe it's just that it didn't quite all come together, but like in their individual elements, they're
Mhm.
very sweet and romantic.
Yes, I agree with that. Um, I also enjoyed the notion that the solution to the external plot of the net in this book was that the net needs to be shrunk.
Yeah, yeah, the anchors. They find there's a whole plot where they have to open up an old vault because no one has any information on the anchors and find some old knowledge that was hidden there. And so they do that and they get this technique that, yeah, basically they have to there's these weeds in the substrate, which is the part of the net that the anchors uh it's a whole nother level of the net. Like the basement, I think I was
Yeah.
thinking of it,
Yeah.
of the Net. And we think it's being infected by these weeds, but really it's something that the netmind put in there to help them level up, get more power, link together, and shrink things. Yeah, it's a lot of conceptual Net stuff.
Yeah. Which ended in, "The net needs to be shrunk." I got that much. I understood that, and I was like, "Yeah, that makes complete sense." You're excising, the part of the wound that can't be saved. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Me and also me being the dirty old lady of this group, um, I when I first saw he's in a wheelchair, I was like, "How is the love story, the banging gonna work in this?" And it worked.
I was wondering if she was gonna just be brave and be like, "Yeah, nothing from the waist down. We're just using hands and mouths."
That's not what happened.
Is that what happened? But, that would be an interesting romance novel too, because I think there's levels of representation. So we've got him in a wheelchair. I think the next level is, he's completely paralyzed from the waist down, and we've gotta make other ways to have this happen.
But she did. She at least invented telepathic sex.
That is true. Yeah, they're so bonded that somehow through their minds they can make each other feel things, which is
Yes.
slightly different than like what Vasek was doing with his telekinetic touches. This is
Mhm.
really telepathic, like
Yeah.
your brain in firing to your nerves or something
Yep.
like that. Yeah. So that would have been cool too. Like if he physically wasn't able, but they could still have telepathic sex. That's like the next level, I think.
Leslie, that's all my thoughts on this book.
Yeah, I think that it's an entry that it's a stepping stone. We're getting information about the anchors. We're building out the world, and the last guard. I thought the title was cleverly placed into the novel. It's actually like we're the last guard. The anchors are really the last guard. I thought that was fun. But yeah, I think I don't know if I have much more to add about it either.
Yeah, we have 3 more books to go to be caught up with the rest of the world.
And I saw there was in her Nalini Singh's newsletter either the cover reveal or something for the next book that's coming.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna be in time to read it. Oh my goodness, look at
Well, we'll
us.
be I mean, we'll be early. I don't think it comes out till next year, but yes, we will. We're getting on a schedule. We'll have to figure out, how we're gonna handle all that stuff. But
Yes,
we are coming up again on like the end of the published books. So,
we
and one of
are.
them just came out a few months ago. So yeah.
Yes. So even though we didn't, or at least I didn't completely love this book, we have been reading some things that we have loved. Leslie, what have you been reading lately that you are just want to gush about?
It's a measured gush, but I read the book Recursion by Blake Crouch, which was recommended to me by our friend Theodora Taylor, based on my current work in progress that I'm writing a sort of paranormal sci-fi thriller. Possibly one version of the book had time travel in it. So Recursion is a kind of time travel, but more like sci-fi memory travel. It's a thriller. It's very interesting. It's got multiple timelines. It's sort of like this woman, the scientist, builds this machine to try to help her mother who has Alzheimer's. So she's dealing with memories. She's trying to restore memories. And it has these unintended consequences. It gets out of her control, used by nefarious actors. And there's a section where we have to reset the timeline of the world many times in order to fix things. And it's fascinating. I think the first two-thirds really work really well. He didn't quite stick the landing. The last third is kind of like, huh? But it's still worth reading because it's such an interesting concept and it's done so interestingly. And although it's very different from what I'm writing, I think it was definitely good for me to use this, fill the well with this. I like reading thrillers. I haven't read that many like sci-fi kind of thrillers like this. So I do like cautiously recommend it, especially if you like time travel and sort of twisty, turny, like it's a lot of hard science in there, which isn't my favorite thing, and I didn't quite understand their explanations, but I did enjoy the book at the end of the day, and I thought it was well worth a read. What about you, Inez? Anything you're reading or watching that you're loving?
Oh my gosh, I have been on a book binge, which always just feels so good. Like you don't want to do anything but read the next book in the series, and I will just chain smoke and just not sleep and just go for it. And I had picked up, I think this was at the recommendation of our friend Golden Angel was talking to us on a retreat about Alona Andrews, which is
Oh
a
yeah.
husband and wife team. And I couldn't remember which book she was gushing about. I couldn't remember if it was Magic Bites or if it was Burn for Me. So I grabbed them both and then I just started Burn for Me. And wow, I tore through 7 books in a week, which is not uncommon from me to do.
Whoa.
Yes. Basically 1 a day.
Yeah.
And these are not little teeny tiny books either. So it's 2 sets of trilogies. The first trilogy, the first series of 3 books, is about Nevada. Nevada and Rogan. It's their story. And Nevada, it's set in this world where magic has evolved into people, and they basically formed houses. And in this world, our hero in Nevada and her family, they're hiding their magic, and we don't know why. And we don't know why for a long time, but they're hiding their magic. But Nevada basically can sense when people are telling the truth and when they're lying, which is why I think Leslie, you might like it because we both really loved
Poker
what are
Face.
yes, Poker Face. We both really love Poker Face, and Columbo is basically that in a paranormal world. But I was really there for the hero. The hero is Matt. His name, they call him Matt Rogan. This man is a true psychopath.
And you love that about him.
I don't usually like psychopathic characters, but he was so psychopathically charming that I couldn't stop reading these books. He did everything that I hate, including kidnap the heroine. He tortures her, and he realizes he can't break her. And he does really not that's the worst thing that he did to her, but he does really awful things in this book, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're so hot. And I'm not usually that reader. I'm not that girl.
Hmm.
But however they wrote this man, it just worked. It just absolutely worked. He fell for this woman and he fell for her heart. And it's all in her perspective. But you can see he fell for her so hard. And it just worked over, and it went over. Their love story went over 3 books, and they were to spoiler, because it's a trilogy, it's a romance. And I remember Sky Warren talks about when you're doing a trilogy, it's usually the first book is them against each other, and then the second book they fight to get together, and in the third book it's kind of like it's them against the world, but it's also like an extended happily ever after. And that was kind of how this trilogy was structured, and I ate up every single moment of it, and I was there loving it. I will reread. This is going to be a reread for me. Nevada had 2 sisters, and we don't learn until very late in the story what the sisters' powers are, and they're all basically really powerful women. There's an in-between novella that it was brilliant. It basically hands the narrative voice from Nevada to her younger sister, who is the middle sister, Catalina. And I thought that was brilliant how this handoff went. And then we get into Catalina's story, and you meet Catalina's hero early in Nevada's books. But for me, like, her hero he was really delicious. He was like this pretend playboy,
Mm.
was really something else altogether.
Ooh.
Yes. However, the tension just broke for me. I don't know why. I'm still sitting here trying to figure out why he didn't do it. Their story did not, like, I'm through the first third of the book of
Of the
the last book
in their trilogy.
in their trilogy, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
it's that feeling when they've already been through the worst
Yeah.
together, and it's them against the world. You know, nothing is going to break them up, and
Right.
they're just dealing with external plot, and I'm just like,
So you're never as moved by external plot as I am, I think. I
no.
do like a good strong external plot. I
And
don't like breaking the couple up. I'd rather see them get together and fight something
that
else.
does not happen in this book. You
Mm.
know nothing is going to tear them apart. They're going to fight together, and the dark moment might knock them both down. I
Okay.
just didn't care about the dark moment. I
Yeah.
think that you would, though, because the way that these two, this husband and wife, Alona and Andrew, the way that they plot together, it's layer upon layer. Like, they set something up in the very first book that I know they're going to pay off in the last book, and I really
Mm.
just don't care.
Okay. Yeah, the curiosity isn't pushing you like, how are they gonna do this?
No, I know
Yeah.
she's gonna do it, and
Right.
I know they're gonna do it. I know they're gonna fix it. I know they're gonna solve it, but the couple is happy, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm good."
Yeah. See, for me, because I will stop reading a book at 70% when the couple is happy and I know that the dark moment's gonna break them up. Like,
Mhm.
I would rather read about them happy doing some stuff than face a dark moment where they're gonna be pulled apart for, like, 3
Mhm.
years or something crazy.
No, this is all external. You would if you were a normal person, you would want to know how they solve this problem.
Yeah.
I don't
But you still recommend
care. Absolutely,
the series.
1000%, and then if you read it, please let me know how they resolve the last book.
If I get through
Yeah.
the 7 books, which in my pace right now, there's little chance, but we'll see.
I think you'll like it, I really do. Um, it was really delicious.
Nice. I'm glad that you had such fun binging. I would love that experience. It's been a while for me since I've, like, sunk into a world and felt like I need every book right now.
Yes! That
Yeah.
was the feeling. It's such a good feeling. And if you guys have any books like that that you could recommend to us, that you just were there for every single book and don't talk to me because I'm reading, that kind of feeling, oh my God, please tell us
Yes, we want to know.
to know. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And please let us know what you think. You can leave a comment on YouTube with your thoughts on the episode. You can share it with a friend who loves romance. And don't forget to please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And you can always check out our book schedule on our website, inkandmagic.net, to read along with us. We got 3 more books left inside
Mm,
Changeling. Ah!
yeah.
And we will see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.